gospel questions are a good thing. You hear said often and rightly that the whole restoration happened because a 14-year-old boy had questions. So if you love any aspect of the gospel, then you are automatically a fan of questions. We've been talking about how this block of text is full of some of the most unique and theologically significant portions of the whole Book of Mormon. And they show up because Corianton has questions and his father is willing to engage them. In Alma's own family, there's good reason for him to respond to questions that way. His own father was a priest of Noah who had questions when Abinadi showed up and wanted to know more and ended up creating the Nephite church. So I think unequivocally questions are good. Doctrinally, we know that God wants us to love him with our minds as well as our hearts. In fact, if you don't have questions, odds are you're not really engaging your whole self in the life of faith. I will say, though, that the particular attitude with which we approach a question matters. We know, of course, that Nephi is a good example of asking questions because in 1 Nephi 10, he goes up on a mountain and wants to know more about this dream that his father has just reported to the family. What's often not noticed is that Laymen and Lemuel also have questions. In fact, they have the very same questions that Nephi does. So if you turn to 1 Nephi 15, this is after Nephi comes down off the mountain. So he goes to the top of the mountain, and the Spirit says, "What would you like to know?" And he said, "I have some questions about the dream." He comes down off the mountain to this conversation with his brothers. Look at what Laymen and Lemuel ask. "It came to pass that they did speak unto me again, saying, What meaneth this thing which our father saw in a dream? What meaneth the tree which he saw?" In verse 23, they want to know about the meaning of the rod of iron. And verse 26, they want to know about the meaning of the river of water, and so on. They have the very same questions that Nephi does. But the two different attitudes toward how this question unfolds are what marks the difference. Because if you look earlier in the chapter, when they start asking Nephi about these questions, he asks them in verse 8, "Well, have you inquired of the Lord?" And they say in verse 9, "We have not, for the Lord maketh no such thing known unto us." So identical questions, but where Nephi was willing to hike up a mountain, get on his knees, and really wrestle with God to find out more, Laymen and Lemuel just, they seem not to feel that God is approachable in that way. So unequivocally, yes, we need our questions, but there is a difference in how we approach them.